The first time it happened, I thought it was just kids. My mailbox, old, rusted, but still standing proud at the edge of my Wyoming ranch, lay crumpled like a soda can under a boot. The splintered wood and twisted metal glinted in the morning sun, and I stood there, coffee mug steaming in my hand, feeling a hot prickle of rage creep up my neck. This wasn't just any mailbox. It was my dad's, the one he built with me when I was 10, hammering nails into cedar while he told stories of his rodeo days. Now it was trash, and I had to bury it like a dead pet. But when it happened again a month later, and then a third time, I knew it wasn't some bored teenager with a baseball bat. This was personal. This was the homeowners association. Out here, in the sprawling plains where the wind smells of sagebrush and freedom, you'd think you're safe from petty tyrants. But the Meadowview Homeowners Association had other plans when they annexed our rural patch into their community standards. They sent letters, crisp and official, demanding my mailbox, my dad's mailbox, be replaced with one of their shiny, uniform, HOA-approved boxes. I ignored them. This was my land, my rules. Then the smashing started. Each time, I'd rebuild, my hands calloused and my heart heavy, only for their goons to come back under cover of night. I'd had enough. I stood over the wreckage of the third mailbox, the air sharp with the tang of pine and diesel from my truck idling nearby. My neighbor, Old Man Tucker, shuffled over, his boots crunching on the gravel. His face, weathered like the cliffs beyond the ridge, was tight with worry. "It's Karen," he muttered, spitting tobacco into the dirt. "She's got the Homeowners Association board wrapped around her finger. Calls herself the neighborhood enforcer. You gotta watch her, Jack. She's got eyes everywhere. Karen." The name landed like a stone in my gut. Karen Mitchell, the Homeowners Association president with a smile like a rattlesnake and a clipboard she wielded like a gavel. I'd seen her at the community meeting, her voice shrill as she lectured about property values, while her minions nodded like trained dogs. She hadn't just targeted me, she'd fined Tucker for his untrimmed hedges, harassed the Garcias for their kids' bikes in the driveway. She was a one-woman crusade, and my mailbox was her latest battleground. I drove into town that afternoon, the radio crackling with Johnny Cash as the mountains loomed in the distance. My plan was simple, rebuild, but smarter. I stopped at Hank's Hardware, the bell above the door jingling as I stepped inside. The place smelled of sawdust and motor oil, and Hank, behind the counter, raised an eyebrow when I told him what I needed. "You're gonna build a fortress for a mailbox?" he asked, scratching his beard. "Damn right," I said, loading my cart with steel rebar, concrete mix, and a welder's torch. I wasn't just building a mailbox. I was building a statement. That night, under a sky bruised with stars, I worked. The wind howled, carrying the faint yip of coyotes, and my breath fogged in the cold as I poured concrete into a mold. My hands ached, my back screamed, but every swing of the hammer felt like defiance. I thought of Dad, his rough laugh, the way he'd clap my shoulder and say, "You don't back down, Jack. Not ever." By dawn, it was done, a mailbox of welded steel, anchored in a concrete block so deep it'd take a bulldozer to budge it. I painted it black, bold as a middle finger, and bolted on a plaque, "Property of Jack Harlan. Trespassers will regret it." For a week, nothing happened. The mailbox stood like a sentinel, gleaming under the Wyoming sun. I'd check it every morning, half expecting to find it mangled, but it held firm. Then came the letter. Not in the mailbox, but taped to my front door, the paper crisp and smelling faintly of lavender perfume. Karen's handwriting was unmistakable, all sharp angles and fake politeness. "Mr. Harlan, your mailbox violates Meadowview Homeowners Association Regulation 4.2. Remove it by Friday or face legal action." I crumpled it in my fist, my pulse pounding in my ears. Legal action? Over a mailbox? This wasn't about rules anymore. This was about control. Friday came, and so did Karen. I was in the barn, the air thick with the sweet musk of hay, when I heard her car, a sleek SUV that screamed city money, crunch up my driveway. She stepped out, heels sinking into the dirt, her blonde bob perfect despite the wind. "Jack," she called, her voice dripping with that condescending lilt, "we need to talk about your little project." I wiped sweat from my brow, my hammer still in hand, and stepped into the sunlight. "Talk," I said, my voice low, the weight of the hammer grounding me. She gestured at the mailbox, her manicured nails flashing. "This eyesore is a violation. It's not just about aesthetics, Jack. It's about community standards. You're bringing down everyone's property values." I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that made her flinch. "Property values? Out here? You think I give a damn about your homeowners association nonsense when you're sending thugs to smash my dad's mailbox?" Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't deny it. Instead, she stepped closer, her perfume cloying in the dry air. "You're making this harder than it needs to be," she said. "Comply, or I'll have the sheriff out here." That's when Tucker's warning clicked. Karen wasn't just a busybody. She was a bully, and bullies don't stop unless you make them. I leaned in, my voice steady but cold. "You touch that mailbox again, Karen, and you'll wish you hadn't." Her smile faltered, just for a second, before she turned on her heel and drove off, her tires spitting gravel. The next morning, I found a surprise. Not a smashed mailbox, but a kid, maybe 16, scrawny, with a mop of red hair, sitting cross-legged in my driveway, a spray can in his hand. He froze when he saw me, the paint still wet on my mailbox, freak in dripping red letters. "Who sent you?" I growled, grabbing his collar. He stammered, eyes wide. "Some lady. Paid me $50 to do it. Said her name was Karen." My blood boiled, but I let him go. He was just a pawn. Karen was the queen, and I was done playing her game. I spent the next 2 days planning. I called Tucker, the Garcias, anyone who'd been burned by Karen's reign. We met in my kitchen, the air thick with coffee and quiet rage. Maria Garcia told me how Karen had reported her husband's truck as unsightly, costing them a $500 fine. Tucker grumbled about the cameras Karen had installed on the main road, watching us like hawks. We weren't just fighting for my mailbox anymore. We were fighting for our homes, our freedom. The plan came together fast. I'd heard rumors of Karen's own violations, her backyard pool, unpermitted, built without homeowners association approval. Hypocrisy, ripe for the picking. Maria's cousin worked at the county office, a quick call confirmed the pool was illegal. Armed with photos and documents, we drafted a letter to the homeowners association board, signed by 20 neighbors. But I wasn't stopping there. I rented a flatbed truck, loaded my steel mailbox onto it, and drove it to the homeowners association meeting that Thursday. The community center smelled of stale coffee and cheap air freshener. Karen sat at the head of the table, her clipboard gleaming like a badge of honor. The room fell silent as I rolled the mailbox in, the wheels squeaking on the linoleum. "This," I said, slamming my hand on the steel, "is my property. And this," I tossed the packet of evidence onto the table, "is proof Karen Mitchell's been breaking her own rules." Gasps rippled through the room. Karen's face went white, her lips parting in a silent protest. I didn't stop. "You fined us, harassed us, smashed our property. But we're done. Step down, Karen, or this goes to the county." The room erupted. Neighbors stood, shouting, years of resentment spilling out. Karen tried to speak, her voice shrill, but it was drowned by the chorus of voices demanding justice. By the end of the night, the board voted her out. She left in tears, her clipboard abandoned on the table. The next morning, I drove my mailbox home. It stood tall at the edge of my ranch, unscarred, unbreakable. I ran my hand over the plaque, the metal cool under my fingers, and let out a long, shaky breath. This wasn't just about a mailbox. It was about standing up, about fighting for what's yours when someone tries to take it away. The wind carried the scent of sagebrush, and in the distance, a hawk cried, sharp and free. I smiled. Karen was gone, and my dad's legacy stood stronger than ever.